one thing I thought maybe I could share to get us started is BCG was looking at some recent data, and we found that the spend in AI last year was 100% higher than the previous year. And then you say, okay, well, is that a blip? Is that a bubble? And we did some research with CEOs and found no, that CEOs, 94% of them are planning on spending as much on AI next year. And they said that's irrespective of the ROI. Okay, so they believe they must invest in AI for the future. And so on the one hand, companies are continuing to invest. And on the other hand, for those that are doing it well, it's really, really working. I would love your perspective from a Microsoft angle. What are you seeing there?
Well, it's great to hear the data is actually in line with what we're seeing. So I think we're seeing that our companies, our customers are trying to figure out what's the right approach for them. And I will tell you that the ones that we really believe are probably in the category that you're describing are the ones that are thinking AI first. And what we mean by that, or what we talk about a frontier firm sometimes is the way we think about it, is that they're starting sort of with the human at the center, and that they don't think necessarily right about, oh, what's the business process? But first they say, okay, how do we enable our humans? How do we create the ambition for that human to do more and better things? And so at that, they kind of have that frame, and then they say, okay, with that frame, how do I think about a framework or an approach that I want to take to make sure that I am executing in every way that I possibly can? And so often they build a framework around sort of 4 key pillars is how we normally see it. And these 4 pillars really help them think across their organization. The first pillar is really the employee experience. And back to kind of AI first starts with the employee. The employee is closest to the work. So they're going to know exactly where the opportunities are. But are you enabling them in a way that they can really be effective? They use AI at home. They want to use AI at work. They want to work on things that are important and meaningful. So they focus there. They also think about the customer experience, of course. How do we engage the customer better? How do we make sure that we are personalizing things to that particular customer? How do we make sure that we are responding to them in a more effective way? AI can enable all of those types of things. Then we think about business process. And this is one of my favorites because it's meaty. And this is really about looking at a process end to end. A lot of people think in the context of an org chart. Business process happens in the context of a work chart. And so we often say, think about the process end to end. That could be supply chain, that could be claims processing. When you look at that process, are there areas to really take that process and apply AI, apply agents perhaps, find ways to make that process more efficient? Tremendous amount of opportunity for customers there, not only in savings, but just again, in a more effective way to work. And the final one is around bending the curve in innovation. And we see this in many areas, but this is really capabilities to leapfrog. We see it in healthcare. We see it in pharmaceuticals. It's just incredible the things that we can do with AI today around diagnosing disease, around finding it earlier in the cycle so that you have a better chance of a positive outcome for a patient. All those things are pretty incredible in the context of what we can do in that space. So it's all those things together in this framework. And again, really thinking about keeping companies safe. So we care a lot about security, and we do too, making sure that we are focusing on this ambition and this potential for all of our employees and the companies at heart, and doing it in a way that really creates outcomes and value for the customer.